it requires a primer. The direction of replication is always, please remember, is always from 5 prime to 3 prime. Without any exception, the DNA will be always replicated from 5 prime to 3 prime. This is very important. Both the strands are replicated simultaneously at the same time and at the same place. These are another important characteristic, that both the strands of the duplex DNA, they are replicated simultaneously and at the same time and place. So we'll see all these 5 characteristics in detail in today's lecture. So what is meant by semi-conservative replication? Semi-conservative replication means Watson and Crick proposed that one of the strands of each daughter DNA is newly synthesized. That of the 2 parental strands, when it undergoes replication, the 2 daughter strands, they receive 1 parental strand and 1 newly synthesized strand. The one in blue is the parental strand and the one in red is the newly synthesized strand. The other strand means the parental strand is passed on as it is from parents to offspring. See, very important, this is what is meant by semi-conservative replication. That every time the DNA replicates, of the 2 strands, 1 strand is passed on from parent to offspring as it is, and the other strand is newly synthesized. That is called as newly synthesized strand. This is what is called as semi-conservative mode of replication. Now, do you think that DNA replication, it starts randomly from anywhere? And the answer is no. It doesn't start randomly. DNA replication doesn't start randomly. There is a highly specific origin of replication site, and that origin of replication site is called as ORIC. Okay, all DNA replication will start from this particular site only. For example, in E. coli, which has about 400 million bases, which has about 4 million bases, 4 into 10 to the power 6 number of base pairs. In this E. coli genome, there is only a 245 base pair sequence from where this DNA replication will start. And this 245 base pair sequence is called as ORIC site. It's called as ORIC site. This one, ORIC site. And this 245 base pair sequence, it has got characteristic features. And what are those characteristic features? Those characteristic features are, it has a tandem array of 13 mer sequences. 13 mer sequences. Okay, tandem array means these 13 nucleotide sequences, 13 nucleotide long sequences, they are called as mer sequences. They are repeated number of times. In fact, they are repeated as many as 11 times. These 13 nucleotide sequences called mer sequences, in this 245 base pair ORIC site, this 13 nucleotide sequence is repeated 11 times. And what is the characteristic of this sequence? The characteristic of these sequences is that all of them, they start with GATC. All these sequences, 11 times, all of them, they will be starting with GATC. Second characteristic feature you can note in this sequence is they are rich in A and T. They are rich in A and T. You see T repeated so many times here and A repeated in the complementary strand so many times. And obviously, because it is here, that DNA will be melted first. What is meant by melting? The two strands will be separated. For replication to start, for replication to begin, it is important that the two strands of the DNA, they separate from each other. And you need a soft sequence, you need a soft region where this melting can be initiated. That soft region is nothing but this Ori C site. This Ori C site. Ori C site, right? And Ori C site, it is characterized by presence of these 13 mer sequences. 13 mer sequences means each sequence is made up of 13 nucleotide, and these sequences have a characteristic feature that they are typically rich in A and T, and they are repeated 11 times in that 245 base pair, 245 base pair Ori C site. Now, these are some more characteristic features of the Ori C site, that there are 4 DNA A binding sites. These are 4 DNA A binding sites. And these arrow, they indicate what? They indicate their orientation. Orientation in which the DNA A protein will come and bind there. Right? These are the 13 mer sequences. 3 of them have been shown over here. But as you know now that they are repeated 11 times. Binding of DNA A to these sites, DNA A protein to this site, begins the unwinding process. Binding of DNA A protein begins the unwinding process. 2 other proteins, DNA B and DNA C joins. DNA B is a helicase. What is helicase? Helicase, it catalyzes ATP-driven unwinding of double-stranded DNA. Helicase enzyme is responsible for unwinding of the duplex DNA using energy derived from ATP. And the unwound DNA stretch, as soon as the DNA is unwound, the single-stranded DNA thus formed is covered by single-strand binding protein, or it is called as SSB protein. Single-strand binding protein, it is a tetramer of 19 kilodalton subunit. It is important because the DNA duplex will tend to form a curve like this. Instead of just remaining like this, once it is separated, it will have a tendency to form curls. It will have a tendency to form helices. But if it has to be replicated, what is important is that it should remain straight. So just to keep it straight, linear, it will be immediately covered by single-stranded binding protein. Each protein is a tetramer of 19 kilodalton subunits, right? Another important feature is, which has not been covered earlier, there are 2 enzymes called DNA topoisomerase 1 and DNA topoisomerase 2. DNA topoisomerase 1 is responsible for relaxing the negative supercoils, whereas DNA topoisomerase 2, also called as DNA gyrase, it is responsible for introducing negative supercoils. Negative supercoil, it facilitates unwinding. DNA has to be optimally negatively supercoiled so that as and when it needs to be unwound, for example, during replication, for example, during transcription, this strand separation can be easy. So naturally occurring DNA remains negatively supercoiled with a supercoiling density of 0.06. 0.06 is the negative supercoiling density of the naturally occurring DNA, and it is maintained at that particular level all the time by a delicate balance between these 2 enzymes, DNA topoisomerase 1 and DNA topoisomerase 2. DNA topoisomerase 1, relaxes negative supercoils. Rather, you can say it introduces positive supercoils, and positively supercoiled DNA is more compact, whereas negatively supercoiled DNA, it facilitates strand separation. So DNA, naturally occurring DNA in the cell all the time is kept at an optimal negatively supercoiled level, which is given by 0.06, negative supercoiling density of 0.06. So this is how, very specifically, DNA replication will begin. DNA replication does not start randomly from any place. There are specific regions, there are specific sequences from where DNA replication will begin. We are talking about bacteria. So in E. coli, there is a 245 base pair region and it is called as ORI-C site. ORI-C site is different from rest of the other DNA because it has got certain characteristic features. And what are the characteristic feature? One is that it has got a tandem array of these merge sequences and they're repeated 11 times. They're typically 80 rich. 80 rich means since between A and T you have only 2 hydrogen bonds, between G and C you have 3 hydrogen bonds. So being, having only 2 hydrogen bonds, it is relatively easy to separate the strand. This serves as a softer region so that strand separation can take place. And once strand separation takes place, the single stranded DNA, they will be stabilized by single strand binding protein. Now, you know that any of the DNA polymerases, we have seen 3. In fact, 2 of them play a role in DNA replication. One is DNA polymerase 1 and DNA polymerase 3 is the main enzyme. But none of the DNA polymerases, they have the capacity to start DNA replication by themselves. None of them can start replication by themselves. What we call it as de novo replication. So all of them will require a primer and they are capable of extending that primer from the free 3-hydroxyl group. So you need a primer with a free 3' hydroxyl group. DNA polymerases, DNA pol 1 or DNA pol 3 can extend the DNA chain at this free and 3-hydroxyl group. This primer, it is synthesized by a specific RNA polymerase, which is called as primase. This RNA polymerase, which synthesizes the primer, is called as primase, and it is a part of a complex known primosome complex. This RNA polymerase called primase is a part of complex called primosome. And typically in bacterial cell, this primer is about 5 nucleotide long and is complementary to one of the DNA strands, the template strand at the 3' end. So for example, this is one strand DNA which is serving as a template. This is the 3' end. Obviously this is going to be 5' end. So you will have a primer. The one in green is the primer being synthesized by RNA pol or primase. It is about typically 5 nucleotides, and since it is 5' end, this is going to be the 3' end. Now once you have this 3' end, RNA polymerase can extend this chain in this direction. Please remember that DNA synthesis always invariably takes place from 5' to 3' direction. So as you can see in this picture, this chain has been extended in this direction. Chain is being extended in this direction, 5' to 3'. So the one in green is the primer and the one in red is the newly synthesized DNA and the one in blue is the template DNA. Now direction of replication, replication will all the time start from always. I mentioned it in capital letters that direction of replication, DNA replication, whether it is prokaryotes or whether it is eukaryote, is always from 5' to 3'. There is no exception. Without exception, this DNA replication will always invariably move from 5' to 3' direction. Another characteristic is that both the strands are replicated simultaneously. Both the strands simultaneously serve as template strand and they will be replicated simultaneously and at the same time without any lag period, without any lag time. Both the strands will be synthesized simultaneously. Now you know by this time that the 2 strands of the DNA duplex are anti-parallel. One goes from 5' to 3' and the other one goes from 3' to 5'. So this poses a problem. Say this is the duplex DNA, the one in blue. And this point, this is what is called as the replication fork. Okay, here it is DNA pol 3 is attached, and DNA pol 3 is simultaneously replicating both the strand. Okay, so this is 5' end of the template. This is obviously going to be the 3' end. So you can have a primer synthesized here at the 5' end with a 3 hydroxyl group free, and this chain will be extended in this direction as shown in the arrow. So you are maintaining the direction 5' to 3'. But the other strand, since this is 3' end, this will be the 5' end. So this will be the 3' end. So if we go in this direction, the DNA synthesis is actually moving from 3' to 5'. And what we said, that direction of DNA replication is always from 5' to 3' end. So that means you are violating the rule here. One strand is being replicated from 5' to 3', whereas the other strand apparently it seems that it is moving from 3' to 5'. So how do you solve this mystery? This mystery was solved by a Japanese scientist called Reiji Okazaki. Reiji, R-E-I-G-I. Reiji Okazaki. What he found out is that one of the two strands of the duplex DNA, it is synthesized continuously, and it is maintaining the direction 5' to 3'. And the strand which is being replicated continuously is called as leading strand. It is called as leading strand. Whereas the other strand, apparently it looks that it is going in this direction, but it is actually synthesized in smaller fragments. Each fragment is about 1000 nucleotides, and it maintains the direction. It goes from 5' to 3'. See, this is 3', this is 5', so it is going in the opposite direction, and it is being synthesized discontinuously in the form of discrete fragments. Each fragment is called as Okazaki fragment, after the name of the discoverer, Okazaki. Reiji Okazaki, a Japanese scientist, he for the first time found out that the other strand is not actually synthesized continuously. It is synthesized in the form of discrete fragments, maintaining the direction 5' to 3', and the strand which is being synthesized discontinuously is called as lagging strand. So apparently it looks that it is going from 3' to 5' direction, but the answer is no. It is actually being synthesized in the form of small discrete fragments in this direction, and those fragments are joined later on to make a continuous strand. So these small fragments, they are called as Okazaki fragment. So that is how both the strands are synthesized simultaneously and at the same time by the same enzyme, DNA pol 3, and the direction is also maintained. It is always from 5' to 3'. So DNA pol 3, we have discussed earlier that it is a asymmetric dimer. So this is the core, the alpha, the epsilon, and the theta, it forms the core. Alpha, you know, has got the polymerase activity. Epsilon has got the proofreading activity, 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. And this is responsible, theta is responsible for keeping the dimer together. Why it is asymmetric? Because the two strands, their replication strategy is different. One of the strand is being synthesized continuously, the leading strand, and the other strand is being synthesized discontinuously in the form of smaller fragments. We call them as Okazaki fragments. I also told you that DNA pol 3 has got a huge processivity. You know, we are talking of E. coli, we are talking about 4 million bases. 4 into 10 to the power 6 number of base pairs. So if it has to be replicated, the entire genome has to be replicated completely. You know, you need an enzyme which can do this job quickly. DNA Pol 3 has got a huge processivity. It can replicate something like 1000 nucleotides per second, and it has been designed in such a way that once it grasps the template, it doesn't let it go until the replication has been completed. That processivity is conferred by this beta subunit. So you have a pair each of beta subunits in both the dimers, right? And they form a sort of a clamp. They form a ring-like structure. In the center, there is a cavity through which the diameter of the cavity is something like 35 angstrom, through which that 20 angstrom duplex DNA can pass through. And with the help of this clamp formed by beta subunit, entire holoenzyme, DNA Pol 3 holoenzyme can slide along the DNA, and it can synthesize something like 1000 nucleotides per second. So these are the functions of the subunits. I mentioned earlier, alpha has got the 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. Epsilon has got alpha has got 5' to 3' polymerization activity. Epsilon has got 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. This is, this is clamp loader, which is present in one of the dimers, one of the subunits of the dimer. This beta, as I said earlier, it forms the sliding clamp, and this gamma, this particular subunit, which is present in one of the dimers, is responsible for dimerizing the complex. And this is how a phosphodiester bond will be formed. So we have seen it earlier, so we'll therefore not spend much time here. So you have a nucleotide here. This is a free hydroxyl group. This is required. This is in this direction, the chain will be growing. Okay. And depending upon what is there on the template strand, a new deoxyribonucleotide will be brought in, and a phosphodiester bond, 3,5 phosphodiester bond. This is carbon number 3, and this is carbon number 5. 3,5 phosphodiester bond will be formed, and the chain will elongate by one nucleotide. DNA Pol 3 has this particular ability that it can all the time go back and check whether the nucleotide that has been added is the correct one or not, using its 3' to 5' exonuclease activity. If it is correct, it will move forward. If it is not correct, then it is going to hydrolyze it, and a correct ribonucleotide will be added at this particular way. So the chain will grow in this direction. So now this is the overall picture. So you have duplex DNA, see one chain going from 5' to 3' direction, and the other chain going from 3' to 5' direction. So the one which is going from 5' to 3', this becomes the 5' end, and this strand is being continuously synthesized, and this is called as therefore leading strand. This strand is being continuously synthesized, and therefore it is called as a leading strand. This is the replication fork. Helicase. This is an enzyme which is responsible for ATP driven unwinding of DNA. So it is here that DNA duplex will be unwound at this point using an enzyme helicase. It requires ATP, and as soon as the two strands are separated, these green dots, these are single strand binding protein, and as you can see, there are 4 dots visible. That means it's a tetramer. Each is about 19 kilodalton subunit, right? And then there is a primosome. There is a primosome complex in which you have a primase. This primase is responsible for what? This primase is responsible for formation of a primer, to which DNA Pol 3 can extend the DNA chain. And this primase will be responsible for forming a primer every time a discrete fragment of DNA in the direction 5' to 3' is synthesized. Okay, so as you can see, this particular strand, it is being synthesized discontinuously. It is being synthesized discontinuously. Each time DNA Pol 3 will add something like 1000 nucleotide, and then there will be another strand, there will be a gap, and then there will be another strand, another fragment, These fragments are called as Okazaki fragments. So the challenge is what? Challenge is how to present this strand, the one which is being synthesized discontinuously, to DNA pol 3 in such a manner that DNA pol 3 can move in this direction. DNA pol 3 is moving in this direction. So as far as this strand is concerned, there is no issue. This strand is presented in that particular direction only, and DNA pol 3 can move. The challenge is posed by this strand. It is important that this strand is also presented to DNA pol 3 in such a manner that DNA pol 3 can continue to move in this direction. So what is assumed, as you can see in this picture, this is the strand which is being synthesized continuously. There is no issue. The one in yellow, this is DNA pol 3. And as you can see the other strand, the lagging strand, it is folded in such a way that it presents that small stretch in the direction in which DNA pol 3 is moving. DNA is folded in such a way that it offers that stretch of DNA, lagging strand, to DNA pol 3 in the same orientation as that of the leading strand. I don't know whether you are understanding it or not. You have to concentrate over here. As far as this strand is concerned, the leading strand, there is no issue. But this strand, if the DNA pol 3 is moving in this direction, this strand has to be presented in such a way that the orientation of the two strands remains the same. So what nature has adopted, this strategy that this strand is folded in such a way that it offers itself in the same orientation as that of the leading strand, and after about 1,000 nucleotide, this fold is unfolded, and that newly synthesized DNA fragment is freed, and DNA is folded again. The strand is folded again. So second fragment will be synthesized. After 1,000 nucleotide, the fold will be unfolded, and another fold will be formed, so that in this way the DNA synthesis of the lagging strand will continue in the form of discrete fragments. So primase will synthesize primer. DNA polymerase 3 holoenzyme will be responsible for the primary synthesis of leading strand as well as the lagging strand, whether it is continuous or whether it is discontinuous. DNA pol 1, whatever gaps remain when the strand gets unfolded and then again folding takes place, some gap remains. So that gap is going to be filled by DNA pol 3. DNA pol 3 therefore is called as a gap filling enzyme. DNA pol 3 will fill the gap. And DNA ligase, that nick will be sealed by DNA ligase. So that is how you see that the overall synthesis of this lagging strand is also going in this direction. Actually, it is not going in this direction. It is not going in this direction, because if it goes in this direction, you are violating the rule. The rule is that DNA synthesis always takes place from 5' to 3'. Okay, but it is synthesized in discontinuous fragments like this, and then those gaps are filled, and those whatever nicks are there, those nicks are sealed by DNA ligase. Gaps are filled by DNA polymerase 1, and as a result of that, it appears as if this strand has also been synthesized continuously in this direction. So what happens to this primer? This primer has to be removed. Once the DNA synthesis is over, this primer has to be removed. So it is the responsibility of DNA pol 1 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. This RNA primer, it will be removed by DNA polymerase 1 5' to 3' exonuclease activity. If you remember, what is required is that DNA has to be in the double-stranded region. That bond that is broken has to be in the double-stranded region. So this entire primer is going to be erased by 5' to 3' exonuclease activity of DNA polymerase 1. So you have this 3OH now here. DNA pol 1 will extend it in this direction. Complete gap is going to be filled. Whatever nick is there, that nick is going to be sealed by DNA ligase. So you will have, this is the complete chain. This is the complete DNA strand. This is template, and this is the newly synthesized strand. This has been synthesized by DNA Pol 3. The gap has been synthesized by DNA Pol 1. And this nick has been sealed by DNA ligase. So these are the roles of different proteins and enzymes in the replication. Helicase, as you can see, helicase is responsible for unwinding of the duplex DNA. The size is around 300 kilodalton and there are 20 molecules per cell. Primase, it is responsible for RNA primer synthesis. Size is around 60 kilodalton and there are about 50 molecules per cell. Single strand binding protein, SSB, it binds and stabilizes the single stranded DNA. The size is 74 kilodalton and there are about 300 per cell. DNA gyrase, I told you it introduces negative supercoils. This is very important. DNA has to be kept negatively supercoiled. Excessive negative supercoiling is also not good, but it has to be optimally negatively supercoiled, and that job is done by DNA gyrase, which introduces negative supercoiling. Size is around 400 kilodalton and there are 250 molecules. DNA Pol 3, it is the main enzyme in DNA synthesis, 900 kilodalton and there are about 20 molecules. DNA Pol 1, its job is to erase the primer and fills the gap. It's a gap filling enzyme. It can synthesize something like 20 nucleotides in one go. So it is a gap filling enzyme. 103 kilodalton is the molecular weight and there are about 300 copies in each cell. DNA ligase, it is responsible for sealing the gap, sealing the ends of the DNA, 74 kilodalton and there are about 300 copies in the cell. So this is all about the DNA replication process.